The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. In one podcast, called The Lorehounds by Some, a weekly recap with tons of analysis, two Wheel of Time superfans will lead you through a world of powerful magic, tricky prophecies, and cutthroat politics. Join me, John, and my co-host Alicia for weekly coverage of Season 3 by searching Apple Podcasts for The Lorehounds. Doviandi Sitova Seguin. It's time to roll the dice.
Welcome back to the Radioactive Ramblings podcast, the show where three buddies get together to ramble on about our favorite shows, movies, video games, and we always struggle to stay on topic. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron.
And I'm another host, Chase.
And I am the third and final host, Richard.
And before we get into the topic of today's episode, I just want to share a little bit about our Patreon. We release early and ad-free content to all of our Patreon subscribers, and me and Richard, as well as Chase, but I think me and Richard mostly at the moment have some exclusive episodes coming in the way of Fallout lore, so stay tuned for that.
We do. Aaron, real quick, what's our next episode going to be?
What did we say? Oh, I think we're going to be talking about the Zayton aliens for Fallout lore.
Or like
We
all...
need to do Ponyo
I think there's...
before that.
Oh, we do, you're right.
We do need to do Ponyo.
Yeah, we're a bit
Not
behind.
to shut you down on that other thing, because that sounds cool, but... So the topic of today's episode is going to be Invincible Season 3, Episode 6.
Yeah, and before we get started, we just have one other thing that we just need to let you guys know, and that's how to contact us. First of which is going to be our email, radioactive@thelorehounds.com. We also have a channel set up for Radioactive Ramblings in the Lorehounds Discord server. You can send us a message, chat about the show. There's also an Invincible channel, just for the show itself, so we can talk. We're pretty active in there. And we have a contact form, or you could leave us a voicemail at thelorehounds.com. We'd also appreciate a follow on Blue Sky at Radioactive141 or TikTok at Radioactive Ramblings. And we'd appreciate a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, wherever else you could listen to us. It helps other listeners find us.
And this is going to be, from here on out, full spoilers for everything that's happened so far in the show Invincible, but we're going to try and stay away from any comic spoilers because Richard and I have not read the comics and Chase has.
Yeah, I do know a little bit about what's coming, but I don't know full details.
And with that being said, Chase is our resident Invincible expert. Do you want to take us into the major plot points of this episode?
Yeah, I'll do that. The main plot point of the episode is the introduction to the character Scott Duvall, a GDA scientist who lost his older sister and her daughter, his niece, during the battle between Mark and Omni-Man in Chicago. Frustrated by the lack of governmental action against Mark and Omni-Man's basically massacre. I mean, obviously, it wasn't Mark's fault, but he believes it's partially Mark's fault for the massacre in Chicago. Scott steals some GDA equipment, which enhances his very low use powers to very powerful powers, and he goes in public and starts causing scenes to try and get Invincible's attention, but Invincible doesn't answer, so Scott has to orchestrate a fake kidnapping with his own family to finally get Invincible's attention, and during their bout, Scott accidentally kills his own family, which only makes him angrier at Invincible. And then during all of this Scott storyline, we get glimpses into Ray and Rex's current life, where Ray decides she doesn't want to be a superhero anymore. She wants to get to live the normal life that she's been helping provide for other people by fighting supervillains she's sick of putting her life on the line every day without being able to live her daily life. And she tries to get Rex to leave it all behind also, but Rex kind of has a opening up moment to her where he talks about how this superhero life is all he has, especially because the rest of his life was so much worse in comparison. So Rex talks about how the only identity he has now is Rexplode. And a smaller plot point during the episode is Rudy seemingly has found a solution to Monster Girl or Amanda's de aging side effect from her transformation with like a belt and some special, I forget what it was called, but like some special crystal in the belt that stops the de aging when she transforms. The episode has a little, I think, was it post credits scene?
Yeah, it was post the initial credits.
Okay, yeah, post like the main credits scene where we get to see Angstrom Levy is still not dead and gathered a bunch of marks from different universes, and he's watching Mark's family home. So it seems like he's about to try and launch an attack of sorts.
I'm really curious to see how Mark fights back against a bunch of him, and specifically a bunch of versions of him that are probably more in tune with their powers than he is.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the one mark that we saw like obliterate Angstrom's family in season 2. He was like, "Oh, poor Angstrom," like he's making fun of him because I feel like
Talking
that's
about
gonna be
the
the
one with
one
the
to
yellow cape and the black
yeah,
accents.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the one to look out for. Yeah,
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 his
he
name
was
is
there.
Sinister Mark.
Yeah, there's Sinister Mark. I think what the one with the mustache is like Viltrum Mark, right, or
Well,
something.
there's multiple ones that are from Viltrum. There's one with the mustache and one without.
Yeah. I know about the other one. That's just like the goggles and
Oh,
the
the
Viltrumite suit.
yeah, the one who's like burnt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm excited for this.
he was in a Viltrumite prison.
Oh, okay. This is gonna be some crazy shit, and I think we're probably gonna get what, almost two full episodes of this next little arc, and then I think you and I both know where the season's gonna end.
I mean, I don't know if they're gonna go with the 8 episode thing. I don't know how they're gonna handle all of everything.
Yeah, there's only
True.
2 episodes left, so they don't have a lot of time to go through a whole lot. I feel like they have to do all this Invincible stuff.
I kind of mentioned something about that in my How We Feel. I said I do worry that if this season is only going to be 8 episodes, that we're not going to see some of the more important things I was expecting this season to have, or if those things are not going to get as much screen time as I think they should. I am worried a little bit about the whispering of this being a filler season.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't disagree that a lot of this is filler content and that it's not pushing along the overall story as
I
much
mean,
as it
like, I
possibly
do
could.
think it is because, like, we're getting important character development. But I also think that if we're committing to the 8 episode a season show, like maybe we have to cut out some of the other stuff we're putting in.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Like maybe the Eve Mark flying together scene doesn't get included if we're only doing 8 episodes, you know? Like
Yeah.
Or they could just be doing more episodes, but it seems that the powers that be over at Amazon are not allowing that to happen. I was a big fan of Paul this episode. I know, Chase, you also noted something about Paul, but I just thought it was great that he was making an effort to connect with Mark and Oliver. However, I'm not completely trusting of Paul. I think he's putting on a good guy act a little bit too hard. I don't know if it's genuine or not at this point.
I think he's just weirded out at this point. Like, not weirded out, maybe. That could be the wrong way to put it, but like, I don't know. I just don't think he feels very comfortable, and so
yeah,
he's
I think he's
trying to account for
struggling to
that.
see where he fits into the equation, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Between
for sure.
alien kid that's not even a year old but looks like he's like 8 or 9, and then Mark, and then there's of course the whole Debbie thing, but he is dating the goat. So
Yeah, he definitely is. I liked that Debbie was comforting him when he was having doubts about himself and his place with them. But Chase, I know you had some more thoughts about that. Do you want to?
I mean, I think we kind of got it out. It's just that, like, he's uncertain if he's fit to be Debbie's partner and take care of Oliver and Mark. And we kind of see that, like, Debbie's like, look, you don't need to be a father. Like, you just need to be a good guy, and that's enough.
Yeah,
yeah, wise words from our goat Debbie Grayson.
And I think that's such a good thing to think about, too, is just by being a good example, you're gonna be that good father figure already.
yeah, and I think that it was really endearing when he's trying to compare superheroing to real estate.
I thought it was funny because he was trying to form a connection somehow, like he was trying to relate to Mark in any way he could.
Yeah, and like bridge the gap between their obviously very different worlds.
I thought it was really funny when they started kissing and Oliver was like flying. It was like, oh, and Mark
Oh,
grabbed him.
yeah.
Everything Oliver does, aside from
The
beating the Muller
Maulers.
twins to a pulp, it's very endearing
To a
and
pulp, he beat them
He
to
didn't even
atoms, bro.
he didn't even do that, dude. He just turned one into a donut. Like, come on.
Bro, give him the ace treatment.
Ace
aside
treatment's
from
crazy.
one notable lapse of judgment from little Oliver here. He is very genuinely a kid and seems like he always just wants to do kid stuff, which is so great to see a well-written character. I do think I had one complaint about this episode that really stood out, and I think that the writing on Oliver in the scene where he was talking to Mark about Omni-Man felt like they were writing adult dialogue for Oliver. It didn't feel realistic for his age.
I felt like the so is anyone like ever gonna forgive him part was like a really good, like, I felt like that's something a kid would say.
No, there were
Yeah.
certainly parts of it that were written like it was a kid, but there were other lines, and I forgot to mark down specific lines that he had said, but some of it just felt a little off and not like regular Oliver, not like a kid, and it bothered me just a bit. But I could be nitpicking on that one.
I mean, it is like quite the adult topic, like he's trying to understand like the severity of what Omni Man had done and why that's like reprehensible and why that like for that reason, like, Omni Man is never going to be welcomed back, at least in the near future.
Yeah, notable absence of Immortal in this episode.
Breath of fresh air, am I right, guys?
Not even a glimpse into his doings.
No more. I think Mark got what he deserved.
In place of him, we did get that pretty awesome scene between Rudy and Monster Girl, and I thought it was really touching that he
Yeah.
was able to figure out a solution for her so that she could age properly.
I also thought the way he handled it was he's clearly like picking up on social cues and trying to understand emotions to a better degree and listen to her critiques.
Yeah.
Especially in that moment where he told her, if you want, I'll drop it. We never have to talk about this again, and you don't have to use it, and I'll respect your wishes. That showed a lot of emotional maturity from him that he didn't have before.
Yeah, a lot of growth for good old Rudy.
Too bad I don't really trust him still.
But
I'm
what if
not
he
a
needs
fan
his
of
Mark
him.
on his side?
That's why I don't trust him, because of him saying that he wanted to get Mark on his side. I feel like that's just nodding towards him having some nefarious plans in the back of his mind.
I think he's got a plot, but who knows?
It might not be an evil plot. He might just be plotting to get the Guardians back from the Immortal, because the Immortal is an incompetent little piece of shit.
What do you mean, dude? He wins so many fights, and he's so epic and awesome.
He can't even lead the Guardians well. Like, I don't know what.
They should have made Black
Never mind.
Samson the leader, man.
Yeah, because
That's
he's like
true.
an older hero. I mean, I guess the Immortal is older too, but he's not a fucking bootlicker. Completely, at least.
I feel like he's not at all. Like, yeah, he stayed with the globe, but like his message was like you can't change it from the outside. Like you got to change it from the inside, and I felt like that was a pretty good message. But
Yeah, I guess you're right. I kind of forgot his exact. Yeah, I kind of forgot his exact reasoning because it's been a minute. What else we got?
I thought it was a little implausible that Powerplex was able to so easily sneak that high-tech shit out of the GDA. I thought there should have been a little bit more security behind
Yeah,
that.
but I liked that Donald is kind of not like defecting, but he's helping Mark out a little bit with finding out whose drones those are.
Donald's a good guy.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Donald, but I love him. He's a great character.
Getting killed over and over and over again. Poor guy just can't catch a break and he's still doing the right thing.
Yeah,
Gotta hand it to him.
I thought the title cards were really silly. Like during his speech in the like intersection during Powerplex, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, the Powerplex speeches in this episode were so ridiculous because no one is taking him seriously.
Yeah, and then I like we see with him before the massacre happens. He has powers, but he doesn't really use them for anything. Like they're just kind of an everyday thing. And I like that idea that there are people in the Invincible universe, a lot of people even, that have like low level powers for this and that, but can't really use them without proper like tech. And I guess we've seen that a little bit here and there, but seeing it like more brought up to the forefront is cool.
Agreed.
Chase, anything?
no, I think I agree with you on that point. I think it's cool that not everyone can be a superhero or a supervillain without getting some extra GDA tech implanted in them.
Yeah. And then of course like the whole conflict with people still blaming Mark for fighting back against Omni-Man. I think that's interesting to actually show us in the main part of an episode, have that be the conflict. And crazy that he vaporized his wife and son at the end there. That was a little not silly.
I don't know what bro expected by like
Well, yeah.
5 feet away, like causing like a huge fucking energy explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark tried.
I think Chase and I were talking about this the other day, that you could see that one coming from a mile away, that those two were going to
Yeah.
get zapped up.
Oh yeah, Mark did try by getting in between him and his family, but then it just didn't work. Like
I
it
mean,
was
Mark was
awful.
gonna say get them out of there, but then she spit in his face, and he's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, like I feel like that didn't really fit the narrative that they were trying to push with that, anyways. Right? Wasn't she supposed to kind of like let him
Yeah,
save
but they
her?
already got him there, so like,
True.
I feel like the job finished. You know.
Yeah. You'd think he would. I mean, I get the whole stories about him being like blinded by revenge, but you'd think that he'd at least get them in a safer place, or like would go a little farther away from them when he's fighting Mark with his high area of effect powers.
I think we clearly see that he doesn't think too far ahead.
Yeah. So silly.
Poor guy just doesn't know what to do with his life. He feels like he's lost everything.
I love how Bro's supervillain suit covered everything but his face.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I want to know how his mask is staying up, because it doesn't go all the way around his forehead, so I want to know how it's staying on top of his head.
It's probably just rigid.
I guess. I like that his hair's like poking out. It was just a silly look.
That's a big thing in a lot of the costumes in this show, is the hair like sticking out of the top of the latex mask.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Did you guys take a minute to read any of the names that were on?
Yeah, there was one like really goofy one I saw.
Yeah, and it was on every single stone. I don't remember what the name was. It was something about like peanut butter, though, I think.
Yeah,
Aaron, do you know what it is?
I don't know exactly what it is, but I've seen some things on TikTok and Instagram where people were pointing out a lot of the ridiculous names that were showing up on there. And then there was also quite a few that were like Easter eggs to past episodes of this show and to the whole comics as well.
Yeah. I think there were probably a few of the animators and stuff too. I think some of their names were in there just as like a nod.
I'm
They
sure.
should have just
But
put Walking Dead characters' names.
that
Glenn.
would have been good.
No,
Oh
he's
my God.
alive.
Have Mark talking in front of a memorial to Glenn.
No, this universe's Glenn is Mark.
I guess you're right on that.
True.
Do you think one of the marks from a different universe is just going to be Glenn that Angstrom Levy uses to attack?
Yep.
They probably could get away with that since it's Robert Kirkman as the original creator
It's
of
like-
both of those things.
It's like multimedia, like live action Steven Yeun, like running around.
Oh, like he's rotoscoped in there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just throw in his beef character for good measure.
What you did?
It's just
What you did was not nice. It's not nice to do that. I did not know that was from something. I thought that was just like a cameo or AI
no,
Mark.
dude. You have to watch Beef.
I know. I'll get around to it.
That show is
Yeah.
great. We should cover that.
Yeah,
I will probably not be
talk
there
about
for that, but I believe in
Oh
you guys.
my god, you suck.
Dude.
All right, let's get into how we feel.
All right.
Should
You're
I start
first,
us?
bro. You're first, bro. Like I don't know what you expect.
I mean, clearly Aaron has demonstrated.
No,
we
I
want
wanna
to
hear you talk
go
first,
in order.
Mr.
Look,
Chase.
every time I speak first, I get accused of stealing
This
everyone else's
episode
ideas,
was
so
very
you speak first.
entertaining, and Aaron Paul's amazing. Oh wait, that's someone else's.
Wait a minute, Chase. I think you're supposed to go for the one that has a C in front of it. Just per chance. It's all right.
that
I
makes
forgive you.
sense.
I don't know that one in the middle looks kind of like eh.
That one definitely took the least amount of love and passion.
Yeah. We're just
Not
full
as-
of joy and
Not
whimsy,
nearly
dude.
as much love and passion put into the writing and directing of The Gorge.
The what?
The Gorge might be the best movie to come out in 2025. Like, it's going to be nominated for
It
every
might
that
be
why-
the
single
best
Oscar.
movie
Is
of
that
the
why
decade.
I've never heard of it?
Miles Teller, according to Aaron, C-list actor.
A bunch of people made out of trees were attacking Anya Taylor-Joy.
Okay.
Miles Teller was wielding a saber. All right, how we feel? I really did enjoy this episode and think they did an amazing job adapting it from the comics. I think that this adaptation is actually better from the comics version of how things went down. I like this episode more than the last purely because it feels like for the first time in a while this season we really got to focus on one story that was fully fleshed out. Voice acting went crazy this episode. I do worry that if this season is going to be 8 episodes that we're not going to see the more important things. I talked about that a little bit earlier. Overall, this episode's going to be an 8.2 out of 10 for me. And yeah, again, worried about the whisperings of this being a filler season might be true. Because I think the thing that is most likely to happen next should get at least 2 episodes to it, and then we're not going to get the next thing that I think should be in this season if this is 8 episodes. So,
Yeah. This episode, I thought it was really entertaining. Aaron Paul's amazing acting skills definitely carried for a lot of it. Looking at his character here, his character in BoJack, which I was never a big BoJack fan, but I know a lot of people enjoy that. And his character in Breaking Bad, he just portrays a character who's lost everything and doesn't know what he's living for so well. He does a great job with that desperation, and I think I was talking about this a bit over on the Discord. I have a strong feeling that with the Angstrom and Invincible stuff, shit is really going to hit the fan in this last 2 episodes of the season. And I can already feel that some big budget fights are coming. I really can't wait for that. Give this episode a good 7.7 out of 10.
I love this episode a ton. I think it was one of Aaron Paul's best performances since Jesse from Breaking Bad. Not better though. Jesse Pinkman was a great character and he portrayed him so well. But it's probably my favorite episode this season. Given what's coming, I think the last 2 will be higher if handled properly. I'd say this was a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me. Just the levels of emotion that everyone put into their performance was fantastic, and I think I'm happy at least that the larger portion of the budget is seemingly going to the casting department instead of the animation, because it could look better, sure, but I'd rather take the insane voice acting over better animation, honestly. Although that PNG of Oliver, that PNG of Oliver going straight down to hit the elephant guy, that was, that was a little much.
I love how the elephant guy is just the rhino, but the elephant.
Yeah.
I think that's all for the episode. Nothing really crazy to speculate on here. I think we're just continuing the season with some short stories until we get to the juicy last 2 episodes.
Before we let you guys go, I want to give a quick shout out to all the other podcasts in the network. First of all, to the ones who make all of this possible, our parent podcast, The Lorehounds. They've got Oscar coverage going on right now, which by the time this episode comes out should have just been wrapped up, as the Oscars are taking place tonight on Sunday, March 2nd. And also in the podcast are some excellent podcasts like We'll Shift Dust, the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, both run by Alicia. And Alicia and her co-host Luke over on We'll Shift Dust finished up their second season of Silo reviews, and really good season over on We'll Shift Dust, so definitely check it out. Also in the network are great podcasts like Rings and Rituals from Marilyn Arpakila and her co-host Dr. Sarah Brown. They get together and take a look at the Rings of Power through the lens of ritual. Properly Howard Movie Review, which just finished their season, A Few Good Films. And right now, the Properly Howard folks, Anthony and Steve, in conjunction with the Lorehounds, John and David, are doing a joint Severance podcast. Go check out Severance. We've talked about it at length on probably the last 3 or 4 podcasts, so we don't need to belabor it too much, but if you're not watching this show, you need to get on it. And also the newest affiliate, Nevermind the Music, who they're doing a lot of great episodes. Mark and Nicole are super entertaining, and they have so many insights into music and psychology. Links to all of these and info on how to get a hold of us is all going to be in the show notes. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for episode 7 of Invincible.
The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. In one podcast, called The Lorehounds by Some, a weekly recap with tons of analysis, 2 Wheel of Time superfans will lead you through a world of powerful magic, tricky prophecies, and cutthroat politics. Join me, John, and my co-host Alicia for weekly coverage of Season 3 by searching Apple Podcasts for The Lorehounds. Doviandi se tova again. It's time to roll the dice.